The year was 1918, and the First Great War was in its final stages. On a small farm in Texas, we find a young girl named Pearl. Pearl lived with her parents. The family had previously lived in Germany, but the war forced their relocation. Pearl's father was completely paralyzed. His arms, legs, and body were completely paralyzed. He was bedridden. Meanwhile, Pearl's mother took charge of the household and farm. She repeatedly told Pearl, "You are our only daughter. You must take care of this farm and family." Pearl knew it was her duty, but she harbored other dreams. Pearl was extremely fond of theater. Whenever she could, she would sneak out to see them. Her passion for dance was so strong that she often told herself, "One day I too will dance on that stage." She often discussed this with her mother, but her mother always refused, saying that caring for the farm and family was her first priority. This weighed heavily on Pearl's mind. Her desires and responsibilities clashed, leaving her mentally distressed. This mental stress also led to Pearl developing some strange habits. She would kill the farm animals and harass her father while he was feeding them. She also became addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs. She often felt lonely, and reading her husband's letters was the only solace she found. Despite this, she tried to devote time to both her work and hobbies. As soon as her farm chores were finished, she would go to the theater. One day, she met the theater director. The director was impressed by Pearl's beauty and grace. He began talking to her. Pearl mentioned her desire to dance. The director encouraged her and said that if she truly wanted to excel, he would give her a free theater show. Pearl hesitated and refused, but a ray of hope ignited in her heart. The director even gave her a camera negative so she could learn the dance. Overjoyed, Pearl went to her farm. She approached a scary doll that had been placed there to scare away birds. She began dancing with the doll. As she danced, she felt as if she were dancing with a real person. Her fantasies were slowly deteriorating her mental state. She became so engrossed in her dance that she could see the director's face on the doll. This shocked her, but she remained immersed in the dance. When she returned home late that day, her mother was furious. She demanded an account of Pearl's money for dinner, but Pearl didn't answer. She had spent the money at the theater. At night, Pearl looked at pictures of her husband and thought that her dreams might require her to harm her family. She decided to overcome whatever obstacles stood in her way. He had to be removed. The next day he attacked his mother, who had already been burned and injured. Then Pearl killed the director to prevent anyone from exposing his truth. He even endangered his father, but ultimately he was unharmed. Pearl looked at the bodies scattered throughout the house and began praying. Her eyes now held a strange mixture of grief, regret, and madness. Her dreams had taken her family away from her, and she had lost them all to her obsession. The next morning was completely different. The house was now silent. There was a strange glow in Pearl's eyes, as if a storm was raging within her. The effects of the horrific acts she had committed overnight had now fully manifested. Her parents' bodies lay in the room sitting before them. Pearl was lost in a dream world. She told herself, "Now I am ready. Now my dream will come true." But the reality was that both her mind and her soul were shattered. Pearl now felt the full force of her inner madness. Everything stood in the way of her dreams. She saw that her husband had returned, and a mixture of love, madness, and panic all boiled over within her. When she saw her father, he had a strange smile on his face. It was a mix of joy, a touch of worry, and a lot of madness. "You've come. I've been waiting for you," she said. There was so much love and fear in her voice that the man was stunned. Pearl sat her husband down in the room and placed the bodies of her parents. She slowly looked at them and said, "Look, I've done everything to prepare for my dream. Now everything is mine." There was a strange glint in her eyes, a mixture of a kind of soul-shattering madness. Her husband was filled with fear and disbelief, but Pearl's madness gave her no respite. She wondered if all this had really happened. Pearl was now living entirely in dreams. She asked her husband to accompany her into her dream world, but the reality was that Pearl was no longer willing to listen. She had tried to make her dreams a reality with her madness and willpower, but the cost was so terrible that she had lost all her reality.